Philip McGowick, a homeowner, District 17 on Knox Road, independent party. Myself and my fiance, both legally blind. We're proud to serve on Mayor Martin's committee on Access for All. I thank you for your support over the last few years by not cutting the budget requested by the mayor. I'll echo everything that Frank said, including the tenor of this conversation with you. It is important, and I'd like to put a face on some things which he did address. The ADA is nearly 29 years old, and it did mandate at the time, an unfunded mandate, that municipalities with more than 50,000 people have a self-assessment of all their properties, buildings, programs to make sure they're accessible. To this point, at this time, the city has only provided the assessment of the property, buildings, and parks, as mentioned. The schools have not been evaluated yet. So with many disabled children in our school system, we don't know which schools are accessible, which programs are accessible, and if there are any issues. Also not addressed the streets and sidewalks. Not driving, obviously, I rely on sidewalk access. Where I live, to get from Hague Avenue, Upper Hague Avenue to Hope Street, there are 3 crosswalks which are inaccessible. There are no curb cuts, making it dangerous. There are also no sidewalks on Knox and Upper Hague Avenue, which is a different issue altogether. My concern with the sidewalk issue is that the mayor, difficult to say, I mentioned this at a town hall meeting last week, and the mayor realized that the city, the feedback, can I stop that?
It's your mic.
Is it mine? Okay. The streets and sidewalks have been, there's a list or a list of all streets in the city. So when you see the bumpy sidewalks, it's not in anyone's mind. There is a list of streets to be paved for potholes or after repairs to be resurfaced, but there's no such list of sidewalks. So this is not being addressed. So money being used for that will come out of this ADA budget, which you will hopefully approve as submitted by the mayor. I would like to say, with respect to the government center, again, 29 years after ADA, there's not one ADA compliant bathroom in the entire government center. This building, for instance, there's no accessible entrance in the back of the building. These things have not been evaluated, so they cannot be addressed. The city needs your help to ensure that not only the evaluations take place as mandated, but the transition plans and action plans are in place to make sure the work gets done. I have not much faith that these will get done within 10 years or so, but with your help, I hope so. Lastly, I will say that with respect to the sidewalks being inaccessible, with the government center bathrooms being inaccessible, if there were a sign on the bathroom door on the sidewalk saying no blacks, no Jews, no Muslims, no Hispanics, no other category, all hell would break loose. But because this is being permitted and nothing's being done about it to make things better, and I know it costs money, you're saying that disabled persons are not welcome in these facilities or these properties or these programs. So I would just respectfully request that you would approve the budget as submitted. There's a lot of work to be done. The money has not been wasted. It's going to good work. We're prime examples of that, and we welcome you to any of our Access for All committee meetings held every other month at the Government Center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Richard Thomas.
Good evening, panel. How's everyone doing? All right, okay, that's good. So I live on Southfield Avenue between the areas of Congress Street and Burwood Avenue. So I'm going to address 2 issues. One has to do with the Pulaski Street turnaround, and the other one has to do with Southfield Park. I've lived in my neighborhood for over 45 years, and I've seen all kinds of transitions go on, from the day of the horse and buggy going up Southfield Avenue, now to multiple traffic going up Southfield Avenue. Addressing the Pulaski Street turnaround, I can literally say that around 5 to 5:30, if you were to start at Burwood Avenue and go towards Pulaski Street, it can take you 1/2 an hour, which would normally take you 5 minutes because of all the traffic in the surrounding areas. So I applaud whatever you guys could do to help relieve that situation. Secondly, Southfield Park. My kids and my grandkids grow up in that park. That is probably the most neglected park in the city of Stamford. And I understand that there's $225,000 that's appropriated for that, and that would be fine. And it's perhaps supposed to start at the end of the fall, but it's greatly needed to have improvements to that park. You know, if for nothing else, we've got all kinds of different neighbors from different areas moving into that area, and nothing's helped the park. Okay, so I would like to have those issues addressed. And lastly, I thank whoever was responsible for getting us new sidewalks on Southfield Avenue between Burwood and Congress Street. It's been long needed. There was a lot of potholes on that street where you could literally walk down and trip over. So we got new sidewalks, and we also have a new street. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Lane Rodney.
Good evening, everyone. This is Lane Rodney. I live on Loveland Road next to AITE and Rickron School. I've been a resident of Stamford for 45 years. First off, I want to thank all of you for volunteering to do this tough job that you're put with these days. I know it's very difficult considering the economy and everything, but I do want to thank you. And I've been coming to these for many years, and you know the usual routine is to listen to it. We're going to cut $1 million here, $1 million there, get the budget down just a little bit. But you know we need to do something different than that. Stanford, you know, has to change now. I mean, I look at Stanford, I think, you know, I look at the bureaucracy, I'm thinking, you know, who works for who? Do we work for the bureaucracy, or does the bureaucracy work for us? Last summer, my wife fell and I had to call the ambulance. The ambulance, 2 fire trucks came. Why 2 fire trucks? And, you know, it's like I see, as I walk through Stanford all the time, and I see fire trucks going up the road, down the road. I just wonder, you know, do we need to have that many fire trucks going for ambulance calls? Just the pollution alone is an issue with that. But, you know, we need to do better. And then I look at the fire department, the police department. They put a police person now at Rickron to direct traffic during the afternoon, which I think is great. But the question I have is, why a police person? I work for a person in Westport, and they have traffic agents. Why don't we have traffic agents? If we had 10 part-time traffic agents, we could put a traffic person where that person is and probably cut that traffic down in half. The train station, I'd wait for the bus there for 20 minutes because the light where the people who walk stops red. The other light turns green, so 6 cars go through. We can do better. And, you know, road repair. My grandson's over from Switzerland. We were taking him for a walk. And he looked at a pothole and said, what happened there? You know, what happened to our potholes? I mean, I get very upset when I read that we've already cut $1.5 million on road repair. We need to spend more on road repair. The sidewalks, I walk 5 miles a day, and the sidewalks are shot in this town. You know, I can't good honestly cut this budget because we need every penny, but I think we can do better. I can't believe that we couldn't get $10–15 million in savings that could be passed on to, you know, make us more ADA compliant, make the sidewalks. What do we have, over 1,000 miles of roads? We probably need to be paving 50 miles of roads a year. And, you know, I know we can do it. You know, they keep on saying Stanford's an innovative city. I was at the Innovation Center once when they had a guy come and talk about setting up the 911 system for the third world. And he described how it would be essentially a central location and just broadcast. And someone said, would this ever work in the United States? He said it would be perfect. But for political reasons, something like this will never happen. It's time to stop letting politics dictate what we do, and let's do what's best for Stanford. We can have it ADA compliant everywhere. We can have better sidewalks, but we need to, you know, change Stanford for the better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kathleen Barrios.
Hello, good evening. My name is Catherine Barrios. I've been a resident of Stamford since 1984. I live in the Cove in District 8. Annabella and Nina are my 2 representatives. I would characterize the Cove as a modest income area, and I'm the owner of a modest single-family home. My husband and I are both senior citizens. We live on fixed income. However, I feel with this latest, proposed tax increase that I'm being driven out of the city. Last year, I had a 9.3% increase in my property tax. And now I understand There's a question of 4.4 increase in the budget. So I'll get 4.4 on top of 9.3. And my house, I do not live off of this hypothetical increase in the value of my house. I live off of my income. And again, I feel like I'm being driven out of the city. One of the things I'd really like to understand with all of these developments and all of these new residents moving into town, most of whom are renters, not owner of properties here, I would like to understand what the contribution of all these new residents is to the city tax rolls. Because I almost feel like there's kind of a Ponzi scheme going on here, that, you know, the owners of residential property, at the end of the day, we're the ones that are paying the bills for the city. And I think it's unconscionable that the mayor believes he can just keep on increasing taxes on residents. So, you know, I concur with the people on ADA. Certainly, there's a sidewalk along my street where the city, in some ill-fated beautification project, planted a tree there. It's thoroughly destroyed the sidewalk, and that sidewalk is where school buses are let off, and across the street, there's also a city bus stop. So it's extremely dangerous. It's in very bad repair. It was the result of a city beautification project in the 80s. There were actually 3 trees planted, 2 of them thankfully died. But I think we've got a lot of these extraneous things in the budget that don't belong there. And I understand the mayor wants to hire 19 more people, which is ridiculous. He needs to learn to live within a reasonable budget for this town. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Lenine Krasner.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to comment this evening. I'm a resident of Waterside. I live at number 1 Dolphin Cove. I've lived in the same house for 39 years. I'm here to comment on a capital expenditure for 1281 roads. There's a proposal in our neighborhood to build pedestrian paths and walkways that will connect Southfield, Davenport, Dolphin Cove, and Top Gallant. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think, though, the idea is insufficient. The reason I say that is for 2 reasons. One is, while there will be a pedestrian pod installed at the corner of my property, which is at Top Gallant in Dolphin Cove, as soon as you step off of the pedestrian pod, you're going to step into a pothole. So the road on Top Gallant, the history of it is it has been private and then it's become public. Certain sections of it is private, certain sections of it is public. So with the increased traffic with all of the office buildings and the wear and tear on that road, literally the roadbed is disintegrating and the surface is crumbling. As my neighbors who are with me this evening will attest, I'm one of those old-fashioned people that actually sweep the street in front of her house. And this past weekend, I swept up 4 bags of gravel. So my fear is that we're going to put in something practical and useful as the pedestrian walkways, but then we're going to miss the mark because we're going to do it on a road that is disintegrating. So I would ask your consideration to expand the proposal and to repair the road. So I support the gentleman who spoke earlier in terms of his concern about sidewalks and how they work and stepping onto the road. The second thing I would say to you is the proposal has to be done in conjunction with the police department. And I say that because people do not stop at these stop signs. So we can put in all the pedestrian markings we want, we can put in all the neon lights and signs that we want, but if people are not getting tickets for not stopping, this will be wasted money. So if you're looking for money to help fund this, please send an officer or 2 down to the intersection of Southfield, Davenport, Top Gallant, and Dolphin Cove, and I guarantee you they're probably going to get 100 tickets a day. So in summary, my proposal is that you consider extending the proposal that is in the budget for walkways by repairing the road on Top Gallant. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you very much. John Alsonis.
I'm actually neighbors with Lenine, and I live on Top Gallen Road. And I've been living there a long time too, 22 years. And I don't want to repeat everything she said, but we're in full agreement with what we need to do on Top Gallen Road. Clearly, they're going to be putting in the curbing and everything for this pedestrian improvement, but why put in the curbing and not fix the road at the same time and come back and do it later? And I will add another thing. For 22 years, I've been looking at that little stretch of Top Gallen Road. And during that time, several things have happened to dramatically increase the amount of traffic on the street. One is the massive development of mostly Steve Cohen's properties back there to run his hedge fund. And that meant that they tore out a bunch of the street to put an extra fiber optic cable several years ago so we can run his massive trading operation. That repair, like most of those repairs, has not lasted. It's crumbling. It's terrible. Also, they've started running not just the city bus. The city bus used to be a street over, and then our previous representative, that's the street he lived on, he managed to finagle that the bus line be moved over onto our street. So now we've got a bus running there as well. And then now there's shuttle buses running to the increased office traffic that's going on at mostly at Steve Cohen's trading operations there. So we've got these shuttle buses going by, usually empty, bouncing literally along the street. And my windows shake, the china in the brake front shakes. It's becoming kind of overwhelming. And then since we are close to the water, when there's a heavy rain, particularly a storm surge, there is some water that washes out onto the street, which has increased the spidering on the street. It's been beginning to wash it out. So all those things adding up, it's become, I think, a mess. So fully in support of the proposal to add a little bit of money, do the paving, the Pulaski Street turnaround. It's not an exaggeration. It takes 30 minutes to leave our neighborhood just to get those few blocks. The way we now do it is we go to Greenwich and go through Old Greenwich and loop around. And that reminds me that, you know when you're in Stanford because the roads look like they're from Beirut in the 1980s. They're really shameful. The fact that someone's cutting the resurfacing budget, I don't know what they're thinking, because when people drive into the city or live in the city, what's the number one thing that you think of? Potholes. What do the streets look like? What do all the amenities look like? So I think that's a terrible mistake to cut as much as we spend on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Shiro.
Evening, board members. I also like to convey, I know it's a thankless job that you do, but I do thank you for your time and efforts that you do. I know you care, and you have hard decisions to make. First, my name is Mary Shiro. I am a parent of 2 children on the autism spectrum. One of them is a senior at West Hill High School. I am also a founding member of Stanford Education for Autism, a nonprofit organization started 12 years ago right here in Stanford. And I want to invite each and every one of you, as well as guests, to come to Tuesday, April 2nd at 11 a.m. We're having our World Autism Day at the Government Center, where we get to speak and appreciate those that accept those with autism. The buddies will be there, the kids who support our students. So love to see some faces that we see every day. Thank you. But now on to why I am here. Some of you might recall last year at the Board of Ed meeting, my older son Michael spoke at a meeting and showed his appreciation for the services he received here in Stanford that allowed him to finally be accepted and attend Delphi University this past year. Michael is still growing now, navigating college life, but he is excelling. He is still there. My favorite phrase I've learned for the past 19 years around autism: when you have met one person with autism, you have met one person with autism. There is no one method, no one therapist, no one special ed teacher, no one special ed classroom that will work with all the children with special needs, not just autism. It takes a village. When you have qualified teachers, therapists, paraprofessionals, paraeducators, methodologies, you will see these kids excel. But there will always be a student with such extreme needs that cannot be serviced in the public school system, even with support, so outplacements are still necessary. They're there to help those extreme cases. But if you support and develop the programs you have here in the Stanford District, you will need these outplacements less. But to do that, You need to keep the funds in the special education budget. Parents want their kids staying home, want their kids to grow up with the peers in their community, make the lasting friendships that will be there with them when they become adults. We love watching them excel, but that will only happen when the programs that are necessary are built up right here in Stamford. Please, I implore you all to support Superintendent Mr. Kim's budget. Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you. Jane Bontrap.
Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for what you do for the city. I'm the CEO of the Bartlett Arboretum, and after hearing some of the comments about street trees and ruining sidewalks, I just want to advocate for the mayor's recommendations for our operating and capital increases this year. We did a little bit of research and went back to the 09-10 budget, which was the last budget that reflected pre-recession spending. In percentage terms, there are various outside agencies that stand with their allocations being much higher than ours over the years. For instance, the Stamford Museum and Nature Center, 92%, the Ferguson Library, 107%, the Stamford History Center, 76%, the Mill River Collaborative, 330%, and we are at 73%. So when we met with the mayor, we asked him if he would try to create some parity for us. If we were to receive a similar percentage of post-recession support as, for instance, the Stamford Museum and Nature Center, we would have a budget nearly $80,000 higher than our current level. The city owns these lovely 93 acres of property at the Bartlett, maintained by the Bartlett Arboretum Association, Inc. And we are owned by the city, so we feel that it is extremely important that we be supported by the city. Museum and Nature Center is privately owned. We're underfunded, and the mayor is trying to bring us back to a level comparable with the other outside agencies. Also, you should realize that the second grade programming for city schools is not guaranteed. We see every second grader twice a year. And we also have added a winter bridge program where we go into the public schools to tie our fall and spring field trips together. We are augmenting the general studies that second graders have with our STEM programming that is specific to their curriculum. We have a partnership with Roscoe, for instance, where we are doing landscaping beautification at Northeast, Davenport Ridge, and Stillmeadow this year, and we'll be expanding to Hart, Stark, and Strawberry Hill, we're hopeful, in 2020. This, again, is something where we have to go out and seek grants in order to be able to help with that landscape beautification at those schools. We also have a bi-weekly after-school program on location at Inspirica, where we deliver that at no charge, and half of our summer camp slots are given to Inspirica children for the 8 weeks at no charge, where we have to raise money in order to provide that programming. That is where the 8.3% justification is what we're advocating for and what the mayor was advocating for. Also want to mention the capital budget request that you will be looking at. Major donors have pledged to us to build a new greenhouse. Our greenhouse is 40 years old. It was an old sewer cap that was retrofitted. The single glass pane is inefficient, non-tempered, expensive to heat. The systems meaning the systems for watering and circulation, are based on old technology. The facility isn't handicap accessible. It can't accommodate separate climate conditions, and there's limited space for teaching and propagation. The plants are crowded, which promotes insect and disease infestations. Just to remind you that we are still working with Thomas Madden on propagating in the greenhouse for the city tree initiative, so that we will plant proper trees on the city sidewalks that won't tear up city sidewalks, and we would be starting them in this greenhouse replacing up to 200 trees a year for the city to use. And that is in a partnership with the Museum and Nature Center. We would be starting the seedlings and they'd be growing them on outside. We're really into these partnerships. The mayor has suggested $500,000 in capital funding to replace this greenhouse if we can raise $500,000 in private funding. And we're already partway there. We've already raised $150,000, and we have not even begun to spend time with our major donors to raise that money. We would really hope that you will support this. We also grow plants for all the major parks in the city. We share our native plants and our master gardeners' expertise all around the city. And the master gardeners learn their trade on our property as well. Also, I should mention that
Excuse me, could you bring it to a close? 'Cause
I'm over time.
yeah.
Okay,
You
that's
can-
it. Thank you.
You can also go at the end if you want.
Thank you.
Okay. Paul Adelberg.
Good evening, and thanks for the board for its time and effort. I'm a long-time resident of Sanford, Waterside, Dolphin Cove. Also serve on an harbor management commission, so I know the time and effort that you put in, and I want to thank you. I want to talk with reference to two capital improvements. One is 1281 roadways. You've heard from some of the other speakers, the intersection that I'm referring to. There are 5 roads that intersect. Gatehouse, Top Gallant, Dolphin Cove Quay, Davenport, Southfield. There are five intersecting roads. And to cross that road, I'm a walker. I walk that intersection sometimes 3-4 times a day, and just picture looking around and watching cars come from 5 different roads. We have a huge amount of traffic, especially from the business parks. It is really quite dangerous. So I want to thank Virgil de la Cruz for taking the initiative to recommend putting a safety walk in that area. It's a small amount of money, and just one accident would more than pay for the improvement. But also, in an extension of that improvement, that roadway on Top Gallant is absolutely awful. There are potholes. In order to do that improvement, that should also be included in it. And the other thing I want to talk about is capital improvement is 8701, which is Bacuzzi Park. That park is so inundated with potholes. There's been no work done to that park in many, many years. And with all of the new buildings that have gone up in that area, the park has remained the same. The amount of people that use it has increased probably tenfold. When it rains, there are potholes, there's water there for weeks on end. If it rained last Thursday, there will still be water in that area for weeks. It's a dangerous situation, never mind just walking around the park. Insects breeding there, it's just an awful situation. Monies have been allocated for it. I want to encourage the board to go forward with that program. It's a huge program. There are different phases. One of them is going to include sound waters, and tremendous opportunity for the city to support that area of the city. And the last comment is the roundabout. I know there's some reasons that it's being held up in conjunction with the repairs that are being done on Canal Street. I can certainly understand that, but not 1 minute should be delayed as soon as it's possible to do that repair. You've heard other supporters, other neighbors of mine that talked about it. I mean, 35, 40 minutes to get downtown, it should take 5 minutes. It's absolutely impossible to navigate to get through that intersection there. So I hope you will support it. Want to congratulate Virgil for the work that he has done in putting sidewalks in. He's there for us, and we need your support as well. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much. Nicole Rauscher.
Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm an attorney in Stamford. My husband is vice chair of the anesthesia department at Stamford Hospital. And we also have a private business that we started that now actually employs 5 people and has a lease in Stamford, which we're thrilled about. I'm here because I have 3 children in the public school system, 2 typical children, one in West Hill, one at Northeast, and I have a special ed child who is now at the new therapeutic classroom in Rippewam Middle School. He has a genetic disorder which limits his ability to do many things, and there was no middle school program last year. So we worked very diligently, I along with some of the parents, with the special ed board to create a program. And if not for this therapeutic classroom that exists in Stamford the first year, all the kids in this classroom, which are a total 5, would have been outplaced. And even take just my son being outplaced is probably the cost of creating the classroom itself. And as a result, this classroom will last for a very long time based on what we have put into it and the value for all of the children in the classroom and those that are coming up through the elementary school, the fact that we can offer them a therapeutic classroom in their community is fantastic. And so I would support Dr. Kim's and the special ed budget to continue to make these improvements, because I have been outplaced before in a private school, and I can tell you it is fantastic to have 3 children on the same schedule, in the same community, and being able to go to the same school system. So I would say thank you for that and allowing us to create a middle school program for the children and those that are coming up, because this classroom will last a very long time. And I know that there is in the budget a desire to increase more classrooms and have more special ed programming in our district and keep us all together. So I would support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter Dreyer.
Good evening. My name is Peter Dreyer. I'm a longtime resident of Stamford. My family's been here for 45 years. I'm a product of the Stamford Public Schools. I'm a product of this school and West Hill High School, which is right near my home now. And I'm a taxpayer of Stamford, and I've been one for a long time, and I'm here to support our Board of Education and Superintendent Kim's budget. I'm asking you to fully fund it. It's reasonable, it's been carefully deliberated, and he's done everything possible, and the board's done everything possible to maximize efficiencies. And I know this is a taxpayer that asking for, I think, about a 5% increase in their budget is a significant amount. But I think this is the year that we should, and hopefully learn from our past mistakes, we should listen to what the superintendent and Board of Education said. We have been, obviously all of us, including all of you who are volunteering your time, have been impacted by this mold crisis. The Board of Ed, Dr. Kim, the mold task force, they've done a very good job of trying to get their arms around a problem that has, I'm sorry to say, is a product of the failure of government that we're all too used to, which is being penny wise and pound foolish. No one inspects the bridge, no one maintains the bridge, we don't pay for the repairs, and then the bridge falls. The levees break when we don't shore them up and maintain them. And then the town gets flooded. And everyone looks around and says, why didn't we do something? Well, here we are. And so right now, in this moment, it is not the time to say to anyone in this community that we're not supporting our schools. This is the time to say we support our schools, we support our teachers, that just because we have these big capital expenditures related to mold, we're not going to have the cover of the Advocate saying, Board of Education budget cut yet again. What do you think that does to our community? You all know. The perception of Stamford Public Schools is not even close to how great they are. And it's things like this, the penny-wise, pound-foolish behavior that continues the myth that the public schools are somehow failing. I've been here for a long time. I plan to be here for a long time. And I'm asking this board to invest in the future of Stamford by supporting our schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Linda Sochi.
Good evening, board members. My name is Linda Sochi, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight. I'm the proud mom of 14-year-old twin boys who both have IEPs. Both are in 8th grade. Chris attends Ripperlawn Middle School and is diagnosed with ADHD and learning disabilities. Michael is diagnosed with high-functioning autism and was placed out of district by Stamford Public School. For Chris, without the current supports in place, he would not be successful in middle school. He has an interest in reptiles and has recently been accepted to the West Hill Agri-Science program. He is extremely excited about attending West Hill. They have the supports he needs. Michael also loves reptiles and has expressed an interest in attending West Hill Agri-Science program too. But unfortunately, he won't be able to. They don't offer the support he needs to be successful. Therefore, he will be spending another year in his private placement. My heart is very heavy. My son Michael is very disappointed he can't be in the same school as his brother. I wish there were more supportive classrooms for Michael and all the students who are currently placed out of district. I know Stamford has made great progress in providing those supportive classrooms needed, and I am hopeful someday soon there will be a classroom for Michael so he can too benefit from all that public school has to offer. And because of my hope, I support Mr. King's budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jonathan Lucas.
Good evening. Once again, thank you all for your generous time. Sorry. I'm sure we don't like to be somewhere else tonight, but we're here right now. And since we are, the honor of being in your governing, I'd like to add my voice in support of capital project 000670 and the reallocation of 000671 to fully fund a permanent and long overdue solution to the overcrowding and hazardous conditions at Newfield Elementary School. While the mold issue and the dangers it poses to our children and dedicated teachers has raised awareness about the need to maintain our schools throughout the city, the needs at Newfield have dragged on for more than a generation. To put this in perspective, my 3rd grade daughter has a classmate whose mother was among the first to attend classes in the portable classrooms that are now being dismantled. That's far too long. And I would say we've gotten our money's worth, and the community has been more than patient. Even if we were to take the mold issue out of this equation, this is an issue of neglect, and now is the time to act. You, the members of this board, have a unique opportunity to finally take action where others have failed. The time is now. Please fully fund item number 000670. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Raisham Kanadat Kapasaurus.
Hello, Risha candidate Kapasaurus. Thank you for your time and your consideration. We know how busy everybody is. I'm a parent of a 2nd grader at Newfield Elementary School, and I'm here to emphatically support the full funding for permanent construction to replace the mold-infested portables at our school, capital project number 000670, and the reallocation 000671. Newfield has been a fantastic experience for my son. He's had the most wonderful teachers and paraeducators, and this year in particular, his IEP specialist is working with him to make his time as a student as successful as possible. Unfortunately, the facilities of our school have not been as wonderful and are not conducive for his learning environment, for any child's learning environment. Warning signs for our school have been ignored for decades. The portables were supposed to be a temporary fix that would lead to a permanent solution over 25 years ago. Well past time now. When the decision was made to close the second grade wing portables, we all breathed a sigh of relief. We were thankful for this. The portables were a disaster. Mold due to water intrusion over the years, animal nests, feces structurally unfit, having not been properly maintained by the proper authorities. When I walked my kid into school on the first day of school, it smelled like old urine had just been sitting there. I know this smell well because I've lived in New York City and the subways in the summertime. It's not cute, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable. They had to smell that for a long period of time until those things were shut down. Sorry, calm down. Simultaneously, however, after they did shut down those portables, which again, we were thankful for, that ended up taking away 6 classrooms from our students. So they were moved all around the school, trying to make things work, including putting my son's class in the auditorium. We have kids in the multipurpose in the media center. And then we found another fix down the road, which now has displaced our most vulnerable special needs kids. We have kids in rooms that have no windows. We need a permanent solution. The students were moved to various areas. It is now time to fix the problem. We've got 2 new portables sitting on our campus right now. Portables that are not even attached to the building. I realize that we're moving into spring eventually. Keep going back and forth with this weather. But right now, who's supposed to be in those 2 back portables? And then when they need to go to the bathroom, because they don't have bathrooms, they're supposed to do what? Walk over in the weather to the back doors, bang on the back doors to get inside to go to a bath. This does not, to me, sound like a good solution. This sounds like another, we're gonna try to throw a Band-Aid on something that needs a permanent fix. We do not want to throw away good money after bad again. I will close off with meaning we just need to move forward. All the schools in this district need to move forward. This is merely a first step for all of us. But Newfield Elementary also needs that first step to happen, and we are asking that you fund capital project 00670 with the school's needs and our children's needs first. Please, thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Kodisek?
Hi. I just want to say thank you to all of you as well. I've met with many of you personally, and I want to thank you to the mayor and all the board of reps, board of ed, the superintendent, our amazing principal, Mrs. Albert Price, amazing teachers. And my son, TJ, is in Rishia's classroom, so I won't reiterate what she said. But I can tell you that my husband and I, he works at RBS in the bond market, and I'm a school lawyer, and I've been raising my 5 kids. And we moved to Stamford because we love the public schools. We rented in Pepper Ridge, and we got to Newfield, and we left Catholic school. We thought we'd try the public schools, and we fell in love. My daughter, Greta, last year in the portables, started to have tonsil swelling, and she had to get her tonsils out. And in the week she was home suffering, teachers one by one after school brought gallons of ice cream. So she had 27 gallons of ice cream. And just today they had the kindergarten follies where the kids, my kindergartner was a princess. The teachers just poured their hearts out. Our principal wore a costume, a princess costume. The parents are a family. We come there as moms instead of working in our jobs to volunteer for free when we can jump in as subs. It's a special school like all of our Stamford public schools. The teachers, the kids, the parents, we all are asking for the best facilities we can have. And we understand that you have a mold crisis this year. There's a lot to pay for. We appreciate that the mayor came to our school a couple weeks ago and saw himself what the kids are dealing with. We have ELS students learning in a former math storage closet, and we really need this permanent construction to start the new field. It's just one step towards what the schools need, which is really new construction But if we can't have that, this is just one step to replacing those 6 classrooms we lost. So I would really appreciate funding capital project 000670 and moving the portable money from 006701 to the permanent construction. And we're asking that you consider funding the full project for the Newfield wing with the additional contingency appropriations money. And this money will be well spent. The Pepperidge residents would appreciate it. Newfield is a wonderful school, full of wonderful families and teachers. And again, I know you have a lot of hard decisions to make. I appreciate your time and volunteering. And I really feel that supporting our superintendent's budget, supporting and funding the Board of Education budget will be crucial to helping our entire city, so that when the moms are on the Stanford Moms webpage on Facebook and they're saying, my kids are 3, my kids are 4, should I move to New Canaan? They should stay in Stanford because we have excellent schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Glenn Harper.
Thank you all for the opportunity for time to come and address you on these issues. I too am a Newfield parent, and we've been dealing with a lot of these issues for a long time now. Been in the area for a long time myself, like many of the other parents here. And as they've said, I just reiterate, Newfield is a special place for your family, and the teachers go above and beyond every day for the kids there. But there are teachers who've had to work in these portable classrooms, who go home sick, wheezing, coughing, lungs full of congestion because of the mold issues that were there. They were shut down for a reason, and that's 6 classrooms that were shut down. And as other people have said, these 6 classes are now being distributed. We've lost the art room. We've stuck people in closets. There are literally kids learning in closets now in the school because these portables have been shut down, which were, as John said, long past their life expectancy anyway. This was in need. This was something that needed to be fixed years and years ago. And now, as other people have said, because of all of the past practices of the government in not wanting to maintain or upgrade things that needed to be done, now we're suffering. And it's not something that we can keep putting off. It's just at the point now where it needs to be done, and you guys need to step up to the plate and say, okay, we need to bite this bullet and get this done. Because putting this off for another year or two is just going to magnify the problems again. And if it doesn't get done now, when is it going to get done? You're going to add to the problem. You're going to need to spend $4 million next time instead of $2 million, whatever it is. The school just got over the overcrowding situation. Everybody was aware that, the 5th graders were invited into the middle schools because Newfield was one of the overcrowded schools. So we just got that problem fixed by, opening up the new constructions in Strawberry Hill and getting our school back down to a reasonable size. And now you're asking us to take 6 classrooms away and somehow squeeze into two portables, which are completely removed from the building and have no access to the building bathrooms like other parents have said. So these kids, when they're eventually out there, are going to have to walk across God knows what weather or whatever to get into the building just to be able to use the bathroom. This is not a permanent solution. And we will not stand we're stuck with these 2 portable classrooms again, somehow substituting for 6 portable classrooms, which were long past their date anyway. So this is now the time to stand up, go ahead, fund this project, get it done, get Newfield up, back on its feet, and into the somewhat kind of shape that it should be for the wonderful, amazing school that it is. And I appreciate you guys' time, effort, and support in funding capital project 000671 and reallocating the money from 000671 to fully funding the permanent construction at Newfield School. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paola Becerra.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in public, and I'm really amazed about how the system of Stanford works, and I know that you really do your best to try to work for the city, and I really appreciate that. And I just want to tell you that I was in a meeting 2 years ago, supporting the core class that we have in Stanford for the elementary school, where my daughter is part of it, and I just wanted to bring her for you to see that we really need these programs to be supported, because she is amazingly improving on all her therapies and all her work, her studies. And now, for example, she is out of physical therapy, which I was a little scared, but as you can see, she looks great, and her speech is amazing. And I am really not here for my daughter. I'm here for other kids with special needs, because I see people on the street and everywhere when I walk with my daughter, and they know other kids with Down syndrome. I'm going to talk about Down syndrome because it's my case right now, and I'm an expert of it. And I can tell that other kids they don't have what she has, and they say, "Oh, she speaks. She can be understand, and she is very fluent, and she has her limits, but she is doing amazingly, and she's going to Simiro." I'm sorry, I didn't understand myself. I'm Paola. I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to speaking in public. And my name is Paola Becerra, and I am from Peru. And yeah, my husband, and I live in Stanford since 2011, and I'm actually part of the community since my daughter was born. And I'm very proud, and I'm very amazed how Stanford gets together a lot of organizations to help, like Stanford Education for Autism, which is one of the greatest that I believe we have here. As many organizations that really do for the community. I am here to support Superintendent King budget for special education. And as I said before, I want you to see my daughter and how this program has worked for her. So you can see that your money is not being wasted at all for those programs. Education is the key. Is the potential that we can give to the community. If we don't provide education to people, we are lost. Okay, as a minority here, I had to go to school to learn English. As you can see, my English is not perfect, but I can talk right now. And I had to fight very hard to go to school and develop myself in this country, because I had to learn the language so I can succeed, so I can provide for my family, right? So education is the key. I understand we have other priorities too, like the sidewalks that are being destroyed every year for the weather, but education is if we don't invest in education, we are lost, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the end of our list. If there's anyone who would like to speak who did not sign up, or anyone who spoke already and would like to speak again, just please identify yourself.
Hi, Lane Rodney again. I just want to thank everyone who spoke. I found it fascinating. We obviously do have a very tough decision to make, and I just would like to say, I do think there are tremendous places where we can save money so we can invest it in other things. And I was very impressed when Superintendent Kim told me a couple of weeks ago that 90% of the kids who go to college in Stanford, from Stanford, graduate from college. So we are doing something great. This is a great city. It needs to be better. I think we can certainly be better. We obviously have lots of needs. We can't spend them. We can't raise taxes forever, but we can certainly try to do the best we can. And again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everyone else who came and spoke. If you want to speak?
Thank you.
Yes, Philip McGowan again, very briefly. We had one of our members of our committee, I won't mention her name, I'm not sure she wanted to be public, but she was here using a wheelchair, and because there are no accessible bathrooms in this building, she had to leave to go to the bathroom and could not testify herself. She could not get into the back door of this building because it wasn't accessible. Likewise, when she sits at the mayor's office, the conference room for our monthly meetings of the Access for All Committee, if she needs to use the restroom, she needs to go home. That's a shame in this day and age, almost 30 years since ADA was passed, that our government center, where the public is not accessible to all persons. I'm also the vice president of the Connecticut affiliate of the National Federation of the Blind, so representing a lot of our members here tonight, it's a privilege to be speaking on behalf of them. And we do appreciate your support. We hope that the quote-unquote ADA portion of the budget is maintained. It's important that our city be accessible. We are the city that works, but not for everybody. And I just, again, respectfully request that you approve the budget request for the mayor's line item for ADA, and that you take some time to perhaps visit one of our committee meetings or get in touch with us and just see and hear from those affected with disabilities that it's not that we're looking for anything free, we're not looking for a handout, any special treatment. We're just looking for an honest, fair chance to have equal access as everyone else does. Thank you again.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay.
Hello, my name is Nella Gonzalez. I am also a parent at Newfield Elementary School, and I fully support permanent funding, capital budget 000760. I have had children at Newfield for the last 8 years. The school has been in poor condition since our daughter was in kindergarten. You couldn't walk 10 feet without a garbage can catching water from the leaky ceiling. So the issue has been going on way longer than this past year. I also have a second grader who has a medical condition who was placed in the mold-infested portable, so I'm extremely thankful that he has been moved to the complete opposite side of the building. But we do have two temporary, as other parents have mentioned, but one of the solutions for the bathroom was to put a porta potty. And the one thing I will tell you, when my son is immune compromised, there is no way that he's going into that classroom and using a porta potty when we pay good tax dollars. We purposely moved into the Newfield area when we were looking for homes because of Newfield. Before our daughter went to Newfield, it got redistricted, so it's a completely different school than we bought into. We paid more for our house in that neighborhood because of the school, and now I feel that it's not safe for our children to be there. So please support capital 000670. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian Mathias. I'm also a parent at Newfield Elementary, and I wanted to echo everyone's well-said comments that we need a permanent solution, we need a permanent structure, and our kids deserve the best that we can give them, and thank you for giving it your due consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
My name is Jennifer Pucci. I have a 12-year-old, and he is outplaced. He has special needs.
Can you bring the mic closer?
He's been recently diagnosed with high-functioning autism. And for the first few years in school, he was at Keaton Murphy, and they were severely unable to meet his needs. We finally homeschooled him for a short period of time because it just wasn't working. The services were not able to support him. We were outplaced, and that outplacement has been working to some degree, but you can't lose that outplacement money. And to not have that, he's finally having success and feels like he's part of the community. Whereas for the first 3 years, 4 years of his life in a public school setting, he had no community, he had no support. He became very fearful of school. And for the first 2 years of our outplacement, it took almost 1.5 to 2 years to undo a lot of that trauma that was caused daily from being in an environment that couldn't support him. I'm happy to see these new programs that are coming up, and I'm hopeful for younger children that it'll be able to support children who may not be classified, but are still having behavioral incidents or other incidents where it's sensory-based and sensory-induced, and they just don't have the therapeutic needs to meet those children's needs. And one day, it's a hope that the Stanford schools will have a fully functioning occupational therapy room, state-of-the-art, that can meet all of sensory needs, not just for my child, but for many other children who are needing it. So I just ask that when you consider cutting, that you think long and hard before you cut special needs and special ed. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, I would like to thank everyone for coming. We appreciate your comments, and if anyone would like to have a further discussion, we'll all be here. And have a good night and a safe trip home. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Monica for the Board of Reps, moved by Mary Lou for the Board of Finance, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.